With the Trump-Musk takeover in full swing, congressional Democrats are furious with their own base. Hmm. Axios reports that a closed-door meeting for House Democrats held earlier in the week featured a gripe fest at so-called liberal activist groups like Move On and Indivisible. Members of the Steering and Policy Committee, with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on Monday, had complained about these these activist groups, activists that are urging Democrats to, do something. Like they're urging voters first to call their representatives and ask them, please do something. Please fight against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. This is a takeover of our government. They're rooting around. They're in the computer systems. They're getting our personal information, like their social security numbers, and you're not doing anything about it. What are you doing? What are you doing? Go do something. Go fight. But instead of being mad at Republicans for their massive power grab, these lawmakers are like, we are mad at people for asking us to do something. Quote, this is a senior House Democrat who was at the meeting. People are pissed. This is of the lawmakers' reactions to the calls, not just a general, hey, the voters are pretty mad and they're calling us all the time. No. They're aware that the people are mad, and their reaction to it is, well, now I'm mad, but not at Republicans. I'm mad at you guys for calling me. Stop calling me. What? Yes, that's right. These senior Democratic leaders are more angry at their voters demanding that they try to do something than, again, the authoritarian takeover by Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the enactment of Project 2025. Yes. In fact, one of these Democrats that were there at the meeting said Jeffries himself is, quote, very frustrated at the groups. At the groups. There were a lot of people who were like, we've got to stop the groups from doing this, said one member. People are concerned that they're saying we're not doing enough, but we're not the majority. No kidding. No kidding. But, even though you're not in the majority, you do have tools in the minority, procedural stuff, arcane procedural stuff, which for some reason you allowed that to stymie you every time you wanted to do something even remotely progressive. But now when you're in the minority and you have the access to these same tools, you're like, what can we do? There's nothing we can do to try to prevent Donald Trump from enacting his agenda. We just have to roll over. Look, here's the thing. We all know that obviously you're not going to win every fight. Duh. Okay. We know that. All right. And yes, Democrats are a majority, or a minority. Republicans are in the majority. Did you ever stop to think that maybe that's because Democrats weren't fighting before when they were in the majority to actually, do stuff that's going to help average voters? I mean, there was a lot of apathy in this election. People who turned out for Joe Biden in 2020, some of them stayed home. Enough of them to where Harris lost the election. Not good, okay? But again, I know that they're not going to win every fight, okay? We're not expecting them to. But God damn it, just fight. Just do something. Try. Oh, but it's just nothing but performative. Well, you know what? Politics. Part of politics is the performative part. I mean, that is politics, really. Performative. When it comes to policy, well, then that's when you put the performative stuff away and actually work on things that are supposed to help the American people. Democrats do not know how to play the politics very well. And Republicans have been curb stomping them the whole time because they actually do know how to play politics, but their policies are just, we're going to deregulate, corporations and then lower taxes on the rich. Okay? So that's it. But look, it's pretty clear that the current crop of Democratic leadership does not want to fight. In fact, the message here from people like Representative Don Beyer of Virginia is like, hey, look, if you got a problem, go call the Republicans. They'll do something about it. You're you're the opposition party. And again, what exactly will that do? The Republican Party is incredibly cucked by Donald Trump. You think they're going to listen to people calling them, asking them to oppose what Donald Trump's doing? Really? Really? Look, all these voters are doing are saying, "Hey, Democrats, do the bare minimum. Be the opposition party. Okay? Don't just be the rollover and do whatever the Republicans want party." But sadly, it's kind of what they're doing right now. Okay? Some of them have voted to pass Trump's nominees so that they could go home early for the weekend. Is that resistance? No. That's the assistance. All right? So now, Leah Greenberg, head of Indivisible, told Axios that, quote, people are angry, they're scared, and they want to see more from their lawmakers right now than floor speeches about Elon Musk, because that's what they've been doing. They do some floor speeches, and that's nice, and then they ask for money. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, throw me $10, and we can help vote for Trump's nominees. We'll send a strongly worded letter to Trump and Congress. Okay. I mean, come on. That's not resistance, okay? That's not fighting. Now, Greenberg said Indivisible is urging people who are scared to call their member of Congress, whether they have a Democrat or Republican, and make specific procedural asks. Like, what is that? Our supporters are asking Democrats to demand specific red lines are met before they offer their vote to House Republicans on the budget when Republicans inevitably fail to pass a bill on their own. So a lot of that is just saying, hey, if you're going to cut these programs or food stamps, Medicaid, things like that, then we're just gonna let you crash the economy, all right? Because we're not going to sign off on these massive cuts, all right? We're not going to do that. Now, she also said that Democrats, yes, they have minimal leverage. Yeah, but not zero. But not zero. Okay, there are things they can do. They can make it at least really, really difficult on Republicans. Make their jobs a little bit harder. Okay, screwing over the American people. Now, voters believe, she said, that their representatives can do more. They're right, and Democrats must rise to the moment now. Hey, that would be nice. Problem is, there is no leadership among the Democrats. They are a broken party. Okay. Beyer told Axios, quote, we're still looking for that national spokesperson. And it could be that Hakeem, meaning Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, becomes that national voice. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, he could be the leader, maybe, but it hasn't happened. Nobody's really stepped up. Well, do you know why he will not be that leader? Because here's the message that Hakeem Jeffries is currently putting out.
I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have?
What leverage do we have? If there's nothing we can do, there's nothing we can do. I mean, maybe we could count on the parliamentarian to stop them. The parliamentarian. Okay. Yeah. But there's nothing we can do. We're the minority. There's a whole toolkit of things you can do. But look, it is funny, though. There's one House Democrat that spoke on the condition of anonymity, speaking to Axios, and told some members that some members have argued that Jeffries, quote, can be focused, but should also be a brawler. So focused as in, well, we're going to pick our battles. We're going to be strategic. We're going to play some strategery here and try to figure out where we can stop Republicans and where we, might be able to work with them on a bipartisan basis. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? But he can also be a brawler. Really? I believe that's that same Democrat that said, I know that Hakeem is a brawler, and we're going to see more of that fire. Well, the video I just showed you, does that sound like a fighter? Does that sound like a brawler? No. No. To be fair though, the only thing that Jeffries is good at fighting is the populists on the left. Okay? He's real good at it. Okay? That's why Hakeem Jeffries has the job. Nancy Pelosi, again, the reason that she was House leader is because she could raise money from giant corporations and donors. That's what the leadership position is about. Yeah, on both sides, by the way. House leadership always goes to the person who can raise the most money from donors. Okay? That's why Hakeem Jeffries is in that spot. All right? He's not a brawler. He's someone who's good at kissing up to billionaires for cash. Okay? What? Oh, but no, you understand, it's the good billionaires. Right. Sure. Look, here's the thing, and it's going to be hard to hear, but just hear me out, right? Democrats have become the conservative party. Why? Why do I say that? Because Democrats are conserving the status quo. That's it. It doesn't mean that they're the same as Republicans, right? But they are operating now in the same space as Republicans used to operate in, which is to conserve the status quo, the establishment. All right. Now, Republicans, they're off the deep end. They have become the fascist regressive party. Okay. That's who they are. So there is no left in government. Okay. Save for a few voices like Bernie Sanders, right? Who can be considered to be center left in Europe. Okay. So no, he's not some raging socialist or communist or anything like that.
Pink-haired communist.
No, he's center left. Okay, it's just our party, our politics in this country have gone so far to the right, and the Democrats right now have taken the position of we must conserve the status quo. We cannot move forward. We cannot move left. We must conserve the status quo. They're the conservative party. Okay. Now that said, Jeffries was not happy about this. He sent a spokesperson out to dispute this incorrect characterization. They told Axios that their office regularly engages with the dozens of stakeholder groups, including MoveOn and Indivisible, including as recently as Monday. Oh, okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing what they ask. Okay. But there's another. Representative Richie Torres said, I reject and resent the implication that congressional Democrats are simply standing by passively. Yeah, just because you reject and resent it doesn't make it any less true. Okay. Yes, in the face of Trump and Musk, they have essentially been standing by passively. They have not been able to figure out what to do. But here's the other thing, right? While they're trying to figure out what they're going to do against the Republicans, they have been doing something else, which is attacking the left, punching left. And that's ultimately the current purpose of Democratic leadership right now. And it has been for some time, since the DLC take over the leadership, right? From around the time of Bill Clinton, okay? When the Democratic Party just really kind of abandoned the left's ideals and started saying, well, we should start taking more dark corporate money and triangulate. We're going to be the centrists. We're going to go towards the middle. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Triangulation, everybody, with the Clintons, And so that entire thing is basically set on keeping the left in check. Okay, keeping the left down. That's it. They're not taking on the right wing. And number one, it's because they're wholly unequipped to. But number two, it's because it's not really the part of their mandate. Their job is to stop the left while protecting the status quo, the establishment. Donald Trump threatens the status quo. He threatens the establishment. Okay, and so they're completely wholly unequipped to be able to fight against that on the right. Okay. Now, that said, the Democrats are so used to punching left that they have no idea how to hit the Republicans, and there's plenty of ways you could do that. Okay, but for Republicans, shame does not work. Pointing out their hypocrisy does not really work. You can't really shame the shameless. Okay, and they don't really care about their hypocrisy. No, the only thing that works is number one, fighting them. Okay, actually coming out and saying no, you will not do this, and secondly, putting up a positive vision. Okay, that supports, it's supporting policies that help working people, higher wages for workers, childcare, Medicare for all, taxing the rich. These are all very popular positions. These are lefty positions that are even popular among Republicans, as long as they don't know who's, proposing them, because the propaganda on the right is strong. Okay. Look, it's time for the Democrats to stop abandoning the working class in the hopes of picking up those suburban Republicans. You know the Schumer quote. For every blue collar worker we lose in Pennsylvania, we pick up 2 suburban Republicans. Except that never happens. It's not true. They still end up going towards Republicans, and so does the blue collar worker, because the Democrats have abandoned them. And so, look, in order to win those people back, first thing you got to do is to get rid of the corruption, get rid of the corporate and billionaire money in the party, because it is the billionaires and the corporate donors that are steering the policies of the Democratic Party away from anything that's going to benefit working people. You got to get rid of that money, because as long as that money is controlling the party apparatus and the leadership will never change. And they'll never actually really fight Republicans. Trump-supporting farmers are finding out after the president's funding freeze has impacted them.
Frank, who did you vote for president?
Mr. Trump.
Right?
Trump. Mr. Trump.
If the election were today, Frank, would you vote for Donald Trump?
No way.
Couldn't happen.
No.
You voted for President Trump. So now, in this moment, when you say you're in a free fall, what is your message to him?
So I'm off the Trump train. Where I'm going for now is I got to protect my business.
Island, a wheat farmer who says he's lost $400,000 since Trump took office.
I think there was a lot of people who voted for him that want to stay loyal to him, but it's going to get to the point where financially, if it's between supporting the president or losing your family farm.
You voted for the president?
Yes, I did.
And do you support these policies which might be hurting farmers like you?
Right now, we're the ones that are taking the hit.
I think he's sort of backstabbing the main people who got him into office in the Midwest, and he just left us down.
Whoops. These farmers, well, they effed around, and now they're finding out. Not so fun when the leopards come to eat your face, is it? So, okay, what's going on, though? I thought the whole funding freeze was over. Not quite. Even though a court has ordered Trump to release the funds, they're still being held up. Okay? Now, USDA funds, for example, which disproportionately go to farmers and rural communities, are being held up. Those funds tend to go to conservation initiatives, research grants, and assistance for small agricultural businesses. Okay? Without them, the local economies are being devastated. And of course, there's no timetable into when or if the halted funds will even be reinstated, even though Trump has been ordered to reinstate the funding. Now, in a TikTok video, Missouri cattle producer Skylar Holden, who had a $240,000 contract for some water lines, fencing, and a well, said, quote, "I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the materials and the labor, so I'm at all that cost. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS, that's the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, doesn't hold up their contract with us." So, yeah, here's the thing. That's the problem is you voted for this, okay? Trump said he's going to cut the government spending. And guess what? That means anything that helps you. Okay, that's what that means. But I don't understand. How could we have known that Trump was going to do stuff like this? Literally in Project 2025, which argues that the USDA should scale back the interventions in agriculture. Yes. So it's pretty vague what it says in Project 2025. But, basically any changes there is let's stop giving money to, smaller farmers and let the bigger farmers, the big corporate farms, take over and consolidate all the farmland. Okay. So, look, we said that Donald Trump's going to do Project 2025. And they said, fake news, TDS. Oh, you libs, you got TDS. You Orange Man bad. And then suddenly, oh my God, Orange Man bad. My farm. Oh God, what's going on? Why am I not getting the money that I was promised by the government? That government should get out of business. Oh my God. So, yeah. Now there's more. Another farmer, Will Westmoreland from Southwest Missouri, sent another video. A lot of rural people, over 70% of rural farmers or ranchers, only believe the Fox News and the talk radio. Well, you can tell that kind of a boomer. The Fox News, the talk radio. He continued by saying, and when they came to you and told you that Trump wasn't going to implement Project 2025 and that he didn't have anything to do with it, you believe that, and you're not alone. Look, Project 2025 was really, really unpopular. That is why Donald Trump lied to you and said, I don't have anything to do with that. Because he could read a poll. Turns out, polls are not very long. Okay, you could fit them in a tweet. Okay, and so that's enough to get Donald Trump's attention, and he's going to be like, "Oh no, yeah, no, Project 2012, never heard of it." But he was lying, absolutely lying, and you believed it. Now that's not our fault. That's not the fault of the liberal media. No, we weren't lying to you. We don't want to see you suffer. We're trying to help you. By giving you actual information to the best of our ability. It's your fault for not believing us or not believing Trump when he said he's going to do these things that he is now doing. There's more. Montgomery County, Maryland farmer Michael Protas, who goes by Farmer Mike, now for some reason makes me think of StarCraft, and owns the 1 acre vegetable farm. No, this has nothing to do with Protoss. We're not calling in a carrier. Okay. We need more pylons. He said he just learned that he might have to bear the entire cost of a $100,000 solar panel project that he installed on his farm. Okay. That money would have come as part of the Rural Energy for America program, also known as REAP. Okay. That funding has since been frozen because Trump froze it. Now, this comes at the same time that this farm has suffered other setbacks, like a major customer that just let them know that they could end their purchasing relationship with the farm. Not could, but would. Okay. Now, Protas said, I can only assume the reason why they're not continuing after 7 or 8 years of working with me yearly is due to financial uncertainty. Why would that be? Oh, I thought the economy was going to be fantastic under Donald Trump. That's what we were told. And that was such a disaster under Joe Biden. But no, it's uncertain under Trump. Okay. Yeah. There's another farmer, 44-year-old Elise Lane, who owns and runs a farm producing fruit and cut flowers in Maryland, told the Associated Press, Agence France Press, on Monday, I'm very concerned about the security of our farms. Okay. So, yeah, Lane was awarded $30,000 by the USDA last summer to subsidize roughly $70,000, a roughly $70,000 solar panel installation on her 15-acre farm. She said, we are American farmers, and so we are the people that when we hear America first, that message is supposed to be for us. We're the ones that are supposed to be elevated and cared for, and this is in direct conflict with that ideology. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's not their actual ideology. Okay, for them, that just means wealthy white people first, not small-time farmers. Just saying. But look, it's not just the USDA freeze that is causing problems for farmers. It's also shutting down USAID. Okay. Now, one of the programs impacted by the shutdown of USAID is called Food for Peace. which uses America's agricultural surplus to help fight world hunger, expand international trade, and advance foreign diplomacy. So, one place that's had a pretty big effect on is in Kansas, where many farmers grow sorghum grain, also known as Milo or Milo, not related to Yiannopoulos. Now, sorghum is primarily used for ethanol or livestock feed in the United States, but around the world, it can also be used for human consumption. In fact, the top export destinations for sorghum grain include China, Mexico, and Africa. Now that USAID is shut down, all this sorghum is sitting in the grain silos. Now, they can keep it for a while, but they can't keep it indefinitely. And keeping it in those silos means that there's not really a lot of room for other things. Okay? Now, according to Kim Barnes, the chief financial officer of the Pawnee County Co-op in Larned, told the Topeka Capital Journal, and let me just, before I get to that quote, Pawnee, oh my gosh, Parks and Rec. He said, right now there's no export market for the sorghum, right? And there's no domestic market. We were hoping there'd be another one with as much Milo as we have. Well, I mean, good luck, right? Now, Barnes explained that taxpayer dollars would pay the American agricultural industry for the food that is used in their foreign aid program. USDA puts out contracts, farmers fill the contracts, and everybody's happy. But now, no one's happy. Because without USAID, there's no contracts. That's going to be disastrous for Kansas farmers. Okay? In fact, here's what Barnes said. If we can't get a chance to move this Milo, the basis on Milo is just going to deteriorate farther as we get into the future months. Because if there's no place to go with it, we can't buy something that we can't get fair value on the other side. But what about the fraud? The fraud, that's the whole reason that Elon Musk shut down USAID, right? That's why you fed it to the wood chipper. Oh, there's so much fraud, waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, according to Barnes, who is on that lower level, he hadn't seen much. Quote, I know the discussion was that there was a lot of potential mismanagement of funds. I don't know that over the whole system, but I know when the award was made, I'm able to see what they get, price per metric ton, and convert that back to bushel price. I know the freight between here and that foreign country, and I've not seen a scene where a company selling that grain isn't getting above and beyond normal margin. So where's the fraud? Where's the fraud? Well, I know where it is. It's sitting in the White House right now. Okay? Being lorded over by a ketamine-fueled tech bro with a god complex. That's what's going on, okay? That's where the fraud is. Look, I know. We tried to warn people that this would happen. Okay? And now it happened. And nothing we can do now. Okay? The result of all of this is people are going to go hungry. Small farmers could lose their farms to these big corporate farmers. And the wealth will continue to flow to the very top. As was the entire plan. Farmers, you got played, and now we're all going to suffer. President Donald Trump is not happy with the new inflation data that has come out. ABC News reports that egg prices soared 53% in January compared to a year ago. Beef prices climbed 5%, and bacon jumped 6%, as all compared to last year. Now, Trump, of course, responded to this by taking to his platform,
Truth Central,
to declare this the fault of Joe Biden. Biden inflation up, he posted. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not how that works, but okay. Why do I say that? Well, first off, we've had Donald Trump's trade wars, okay? He's got tariff threats on foreign steel and aluminum that have already raised prices, okay? The markets are kind of freaking out a little bit over this. Now, you also have bird flu, raising the price of eggs. But what about gas prices? I mean, he said he's going to drill, right? I mean, he is gonna unleash American energy. Oh, looks like the cost of gas also went up 1.8%. Oops. As far as consumer goods go, those are going to go up too. For example, the VP of an electronics store in Illinois, named Phil Hannon, is expecting to raise his own prices by 3 to 15%. And why? It's because he's received notices from vendors over the past couple of weeks warning about price increases, though they have not been specific, but that's in relation to the trade war. Hannon also said that many customers are already asking about price increases and when the Trump tariffs are coming. Okay. Everything else, and excluding food and gas, because I just talked about that, went up by about 0.3%. So it's weird how everything that, everything is going up, even though that Trump had promised that it would go down on day one. Day one! But look, I live in reality, okay? And the reality is, I know that the president does not control gas prices or egg prices or the price of bacon, okay? You can't really blame all this on Donald Trump, but you also can't blame all this on Joe Biden, okay? But again, that's what Republicans did for that entire election, making about, oh, rising price of eggs, rising price of this, rising price of that, oh, Joe Biden's all Joe Bidenflation! But it's not. Okay, at the end of the day, ultimately, it comes down to, the companies. There's also the Federal Reserve, plays a pretty big role with lending. There's a lot of different factors that factor into inflation, okay? So now, Donald Trump, he wants to cut interest rates, which will make it easier for him to borrow money. Now, that said, that's probably going to increase inflation, okay, which would not be good for the economy. Then, of course, you have Trump doing tariffs, which is a tax on the American people. So we're going to end up having to pay more for, the imports of and the cost of these things, because basically we import a lot of things, not just like finished goods, but a lot of parts, a lot of raw materials. And so, that's going to cost us more. Look, I understand that the president does not, there's not a lot that they can do personally to do, to solve inflation. Okay. Congress can do things, the Fed can do things, and the president can do some things, right? I mean, for example, Congress could try to raise wages for workers to offset the inflation. Okay. So you're not really solving the inflation, but you're mitigating the impact that it has by making sure that workers have more spending power. Okay. They could also tax rich people. They could crack down on the price gougers. I mean, about half of all the price increases, called inflation, is actually due to corporate greed. This is greedflation. This is our costs went up slightly for a short time. They went back down, but that's okay. We're going to keep our prices high anyway and pocket the difference. Executive bonuses, do some stock buybacks, that kind of stuff. Yes, that's what happened. Look, COVID made prices for a lot of things go up. There were supply chain issues, right? Those are pretty much solved. So the input costs for a lot of these businesses went down, but their prices never went back down. And we know it's because of the profit motive. We have companies that are more profitable than they've ever been. We have Zoom calls where CEOs are sitting there bragging about keeping prices high and then making record profits. Like, oh man, we were so profitable. Inflation. Yes, that's what it is. And look, it's not just about all that. We've got the national debt, thanks to Bush Jr. and Trump's tax cuts for the rich, adding a massive amount to our national debt. Okay. Look, that's money, by the way, borrowed by the government through treasury bonds. And when they pay back those bonds, you end up paying interest. The government pays interest to those bondholders on that debt. There's also supply and demand. For example, housing. Private equity buys up a lot of homes that are built, and then they basically rent it out at extremely, higher prices, higher and higher prices. You've got new houses that are not being built. We don't have enough new housing, and what is being built is getting snapped up by private equity. All of that stuff contributes to inflation. It contributes to normal people not being able to afford to live in this country. Okay. Now, look, you can slow it through policy. And Joe Biden did slow it through policy. It slowed it through, slowed that inflation rate down. You can't deflate, because if you do, that's the only way to do that is through a recession or a depression. Okay. That said, while Biden did slow down the rate of inflation, there were still many people in this country who were not doing very well economically. And so they blame the party in charge. Now, one way that the Federal Reserve tries to ease inflation, it's pretty much one of their only tools they have, is by raising interest rates, and that creates unemployment. Yeah. So, but why would you want that? Well, again, more people who are unemployed, they're not making money, they're not spending money. That's going to lower the cost of goods. Okay. So now that said, you had inflation that slowed, but unemployment went up. And of course, not only did unemployment go up, but underemployment went up. And of course, wages did not go up enough to really make people feel like we're at, getting ahead, getting anywhere. Okay. And so, but you don't understand, unemployment was near record lows back in November. What are you talking about? You know why? It's because the unemployment metrics that they count, they're BS. They've always been BS. Okay? They even count homeless people doing occasional work as gainfully employed. Okay? And so, well, I mean, yes, they're homeless or barely making any money to get by. They're can't afford anything, but technically they're employed. Oh, it also counts as employed the millions of people who work, who are underemployed. These are people who only work a few hours each week while they are searching for full-time work. Okay. And those making poverty wages of about $25,000 a year, they're all counted as being employed. So, oh yeah, low unemployment, but having low unemployment does not mean that people are doing well. Okay. This does not take into account the many Americans who are also have been so discouraged that they are no longer trying to get a job. And so if you include all of those people in this metric, then yeah, you'd have an unemployment rate of somewhere around 23.7%. Nearly 1 out of 4 people. That's insane. Okay. So basically people are not doing well, and they haven't been doing well for quite some time. Okay. This is a problem that's predated Joe Biden. Okay. And will continue under Trump. Of course, no, you have boomers, some of the boomers and wealthier people, especially pundits, that are out there saying, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with that. Everything's great. The economy's awesome. The only reason that you can't afford homes is because of avocado toast and big screen TVs. What? No, what's funny is in reality, big screen TVs, these so-called luxury items, are actually cheaper. Okay, than they were previously. The things that are considered luxury goods, or were considered luxury goods in the past, are actually way cheaper than they were before. But on the other hand, you have the housing, the basics, food and energy. They're way up. Education, massively more expensive than it used to be. And so that's the problem. And nobody wants to admit that this is going on. You certainly don't have a lot of Democratic politicians that are admitting that it's going on, and Republican politicians. Are you kidding me? No. They're not talking about the real issues. They're just blaming it on wokes and transgenders. Okay, that's what they do. All right. No, this is that problem. This is the problem. And Trump's policies are not going to make it any better. He never had a plan to deal with inflation. He just used it during his campaign to make people who, are struggling. Some of them say, well, why don't we just give the Republicans a shot then? Now, what the problem really is the massive concentration of wealth stop. Okay? Sure, there's more money. There is more wealth in this country, but it's in less and less people's hands. And Trump and the Republican Party, they can't and won't do anything about it. The whole purpose of Trump and the Republican Party, you remember, is to accelerate the transfer of wealth to the rich. And as far as the Democrats are concerned, it's all about trying to keep the status quo. And so that's why the Democrats really haven't done much to fight against that concentration of wealth either. There's some good ideas that have never really been embraced by the party as a whole. Things like wealth taxes, okay? Put up by Elizabeth Warren, but not really taken up by the rest of the party leadership. And so this is why we're in the situation that we're in. Things are going to continue to get worse under Donald Trump because none of his policies will be able to help to do this, to solve any of these problems. Only if you come from a leftist progressive approach can you actually solve these systemic issues. And unfortunately, we do not have a leftist/progressive political party in this country. A school voucher law in Florida that was once reserved for low-income students and those with disabilities has been effectively turned into a private school voucher program that benefits religious schools and the kids of rich people. That's right. It has effectively funneled nearly $3.5 billion of taxpayer money just this year into private religious schools across the state, mostly Catholic schools, okay? And all while benefiting the wealthiest Floridians in the process. So now in 2023, the voucher rules were changed because this voucher program had been around since about the 90s, right? But it had strict income limits and who was eligible to get this money. So now Republicans decided we're going to drop the income limit. We're going to make it a free-for-all. Hell yeah. And what happened is that it turned in this voucher program into a subsidy for rich people and these religious schools. In fact, more than 122,000 new students, more than 122,000 students started using vouchers for the first time in 2023-2024 school year. Nearly 70% were already in private school at the time. So, wait a minute. They were already there? Yes, it's just now they get the vouchers. Many in some of Florida's priciest institutions. Okay, many of these students. This is according to data from Step Up for Students, a nonprofit that administers most of the state's scholarships. So they're not even, they're not even trying to hide the ball here. They're saying, oh yeah, no, we got all this public money being funneled into these private schools. Look at our numbers. They're fantastic. Great. Now, about 40% of that number came from families that were too wealthy to have qualified for these vouchers previously. So, already going to these schools. But now, they get to go there on the taxpayer's dime. Oh, hell yeah. Like, we were already going to private schools, and we were already made too much money to qualify for these vouchers. But now that the vouchers are there, of course we're going to take it. Of course we're going to take it. Now, of course, the result here has been disastrous for public schools. According to an Orlando Sentinel analysis, at just one school, the growth of these vouchers pushed the total annual voucher funding from $65,000 to $3.5 million. So So that is one hell of a windfall for this private school. Look, a large chunk of that money, according to this analysis, went to Florida's most expensive private schools. Many of them had previously served few voucher students in the past because, again, they couldn't really afford it. But now that it's open, well, here we go. Campuses that advertise an annual tuition of $15,000 or more added more than 30,000 voucher students last year. The proportion of private school students with state scholarships had topped 70%. 10 years ago, it was less than a third. In fact, more Florida students use vouchers, total of 352,860 to attend private campuses, than are enrolled in the public schools in Osceola, Orange, and Seminole County combined. There is some people that are fighting against this, but it's been a losing fight. Democrats in Florida, they're not doing very well, okay? Now, State Representative Kelly Skidmore, who voted against the expansion of this voucher law, said, look, this is just a subsidy for wealthy people who already have the advantage. Why do we need more of this? We don't. Now, that's just one of them. There are several others. In fact, Representative Fentress Driscoll, Democrat of Tampa, says this is creating a private school for all, but it's really a private school for all who can afford it. Yeah. So now, one of the big problems with the voucher program, as I've pointed out on many occasions, is the more taxpayer money you put into these private schools, the more that public schools will suffer because they're already underfunded. And so you have that, but then there's another problem. And it's something that Republicans could have seen coming because it's one of the arguments they actually made against college. Oh, if you have public money going to these schools, then they're going to raise their prices. And that's exactly what happened. Okay. This year, public school administrators in Broward, Duval, and Miami-Dade have suggested that they might need to close their schools as a result of the vouchers. And you have these private schools that have raised their tuitions. And so that's pricing poor people out. Okay. Now, even if you go to these private schools, by the way, the education there is not guaranteed to be better. These schools are free to hire teachers without any special education, no college degrees. They can teach history and science lessons that are religious in nature, and they can discriminate against LGBTQ students. In fact, one religious school receiving public money notes that in their handbook, students who engage in, quote, homosexual / bisexual and transgender behavior are open to expulsion. So, just kicking out the LGBTQ from these schools, even though they're taking public money. Not only that, but again, there's very little accountability like there is when it comes to public education. But surely it's not all religious schools, right? I mean, there's got to be these some of these private schools that are not religious, right? That are just, a better quality education, right? No. Look, religious schools aren't all the schools, but the vast majority of them are. About 82% of Florida's voucher students attended religious school. The vast majority of them happen to be Christian. And a big chunk of those Christian schools are part of Florida's politically active Catholic school bloc. So that's all according to data from the Florida Department of Education. Across the state, the number of Catholic school students using state scholarships more than doubled in the last 2 years, topping 80,000 in the years 2024 and the 2024-2025 school year, according to data from the Florida Conference of Catholic Bishops. This is state money being used to essentially propagandize students into the version of right-wing Christianity. Okay? I'm not saying that there aren't other schools. There's some Jewish religious schools that get public money as a result of this voucher, but most of it, the vast majority, is Christian. And of course, the vast majority of these students happen to be pretty wealthy. They could already have afforded going and paying for these schools by themselves, but since it's public money, they're just going to take it. Sure, why not? And if you think that this is only happening in Florida, oh no, there's Texas is expanding their vouchers as well. And President Trump has a plan to expand it to everywhere. On January 29th, Trump signed an executive order requiring the study, right, on how states could use federal education funding for universal K-12 scholarships, seeking to replicate Florida's system nationwide. Yes, that's the last thing that we need to do, is to replicate anything that Florida is doing. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, though, understand that this push for school choice has never actually been about improving education. Never been about actually having a real choice in education. It has all been about destroying public education and making it so that people, especially poor kids, do not get a quality education. Likely they're stuck in public schools. They don't get a good education, and they end up doing all the menial jobs that rich kids will never have to do. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.